There's one. Little guy. What's up, guys? Your boy Bubba Bass. I'm out here at the reservoir. I just got through flipping a few of these overhangs, brush piles, laydowns. Caught a few dinks, nothing with size. But today I want to show you what I use for flipping, how I set it up, everything. So stay tuned. Alright, so for flipping, you can use two kinds of rods. Right now I got a 7-foot Vengeance Abu Garcia heavy action rod. The reason I'm using heavy action here is because this brush is really thick and there's some pretty big fish in here. So and it's all on a steep hill, so I've got to horse the fish out. So I'm using a heavier rod to be able to do that. You can get away with the medium heavy action if you're flipping, let's say, docks or just regular brush piles where you're fishing vertically. Then you can go with a medium heavy action to where you don't have to horse those fish as much. So I use a 7-foot rod because I'm only 5'6", so I'm pretty short. So 7 rod is plenty for me. Anything longer than 7 is too much. That's what she said. Anyways, so yeah, that's the reason I use a 7-foot rod. So if you're a taller guy, you might want to use a longer rod. I'm throwing it on a Daiwa Exceller. It's a 7:3-to-1 ratio reel. It's got a big bulky handle on it. So I mean, you're not slipping on it. You get a good grip and you can horse those fish out. Plus it takes up to like 28-29 inches of line per turn, so that helps a lot. You get just over 2 foot of line up with every turn, so you're able to horse those fish out of there a little quicker. You can get this at Bass Pro Shop. I got the rod at Walmart. I don't buy a bunch of expensive stuff because most likely I'm gonna break it, or you know, I'm just cheap. So it works for me. I mean, if you got the money to spend, by all means, but it works for me, and it gets the job done. As you can see, I do catch fish. So yeah, 7:3-to-1 ratio reel, great. It's what you need. Now my line is Power Pro Slick 8. It's 30-pound test braid. Now I should be fishing a heavier braid in this stuff, but I'm trying to get away with as light braid as I can, lighter line, smaller diameter line that I can. This 30-pound braid works just great. I use a Bass Pro Shops bobber stopper. They come in like 3 different colors. I've heard guys say different colors for different line diameters. I don't think so. I think they're all pretty much the same. I mean, color is just up to you. Water clarity. This water's pretty stained, so I can use a yellow or a red. Sometimes they like the red color, and you'll want to throw that on there. But the yellow for here is fine for me because I mean they're pretty much just hitting on reaction. I got a Bass Pro Shops bullet weight. It's just the green pumpkin color. They come in black, green pumpkin, and of course just the regular chromish red color. I mean lead color type bait weights. On a 3/0, I like to use a smaller hook only because I don't like getting it caught up. So I use a 3/0. It's just a laser point eagle claw hook. Get them at Walmart. It's a little bit thicker though. It's not those real skinny ones like you see. It's a little thicker. It works great. The only advice I would give you is take a pair of pliers with you. I'll carry a pair of pliers with me just because if you get caught on a big branch and you got to horse it out, or if you're tugging a lot and getting stuck in all this stuff, a lot of times you'll bend out just a little bit and then your bait won't hook on right and it'll look kind of funny. So I'll just take the pliers and I'll just bend it back a little bit just to give it its shape back, and you're good to go. Alright, so now I'm going to go ahead and show you how I tie this up, how I tie it on, what knot I use. I know a lot of people like to use different knots. I like to use a snail knot, and I'll show you, you'll see why right now, but let's go ahead and get into it. So this is pretty much what I use for flipping. This is heavy cover stuff. I mean, you can use this setup for a Texas, it's pretty much a Texas rig. You can use it as a Texas rig, you can throw it anywhere, you can throw it on a rock structure, drag it, do whatever you want with it. But this is what I use for flipping. You got the Bass Pro Shops bobber stoppers. They come like 3 of these little things in a pack.
They're like $2. They're pretty cheap. Black, I would recommend using the black colors for clearer water. Yellow, like right here where I'm fishing, the water's pretty stained, so I can get away with yellow because they're pretty much hitting on reaction. And red, some days they like that red color. You might want to throw that on there. So today we'll go ahead and use a yellow. All you do is stick your line through that little loop and pull up, and it'll pull your line through, and it just gets on your line like that. And then you're going to want to thread that up, give yourself some room. Now there's 3 different weights here. um, they're just Bass Pro Shop weights. They sell them like 10 to a pack. They're like maybe $4. They're pretty cheap, just regular bullet weights. Like I said, you got just the regular lead color, um, green pumpkin, and then a black. We'll go ahead and use the green pumpkin for now. So after you get your bobber stopper on, you're going to want to thread this through. Thread on your weight and just move that over to your bobber stopper out of the way. Now, like I said, this is just a 3/0. It's an Eagle Claw laser point hook. They're great hooks. You get them at Walmart. They're not expensive. Um, I like to use a Chanel knot when I'm flipping, or just for even just Texas rigging, dragging. It works great, and you'll see why right now. So what you want to do when you tie this knot is you want to run your line into the front of the eye, into the front of the eye of the hook. So your open part of your hook, you want to run your line in that way. If you run it the other way, you won't get what you're looking for. You want to pull through, pull about 6 inches of line through, and all you're doing is creating a loop here. Creating a loop here. Just run your line back up, create a loop, just like that. Now you hold your loop and you twist your line, your tag in around one time, and you try to get that wrap around high just below the eye of the hook. Now your next one's going to be kind of light. You don't want to pull tight on it. Go lightly because you want to wrap downwards. If you pull too tight, you're going to wrap up on top of that first loop, and that's not what you want. You want to run it down this way. So you're running down the shank of the hook, and you just keep twisting it around. You can see it's twisting downwards, and try to stay close to your fingers, and you'll kind of rub onto your fingers just until, I mean, if it starts sliding down, you can get your nail and just kind of push it back up, and then just run it down until you completely cover the shank of your hook. Now all you do with your tag in is you'll run it back through that loop. It doesn't matter which way you run it through, just run it back through there, and then you pull on your main line, and you pull tight, and it'll lock it all in. Just make sure it goes over the eye of that, and it'll just lock it all in. And that's it. That's how it'll look. And you're not going to get any slippage. And then another thing I recommend, if you're going to use braid, guys, get a good pair of scissors. These are just Walmart Rapala scissors, but they work great. I don't have any problem using them. That's kind of a long tag. I usually leave about a little 1/4 inch tag, and that's it. And then when you run your now, what I was saying about this knot is what's good about it for flipping, anyways. When you go to set your hook, as you can see, it's hanging straight, but when you go to set your hook, it actually pushes your hook upwards. If you can see that, it pushes your hook upwards, so it's sitting at an angle. So when you go to set the hook in that fish's mouth, and you pull on your line, and they got it in there, and it'll pull up, and 85% of your hook sets are going to be right on the top of the lip, right in that hard part, right where you want to get them, so they're not getting off and shaking your bait. And that's why I love this knot. It's a great knot. That's just awesome. Then you'll peg that down, and that's it. I leave a little room because when you put your bait on, you kind of want your weight to slide up a little bit. Now I'm using like I said, the Zoom brush hog. All you do is run it in about 1/4 inch, slip it back out, run it right over that. I like to squeeze onto this just so I'm not ripping up my bait too much. Kind of squeeze the head of it like that, and then it'll sit nice. And then you kind of line up your bait, when you run it through the body of it, try to run your hook straight through the body, and then it'll come out nice and straight just like that. And then all you do is skin hook that back into there, and boom, there it is. Run your bobber stopper down, pegs your bait in there, and that's all there is to it. Beautiful setup right there.
So for flipping a bait, all you got to do is let it hang down, drop it down, let some line out, 6 inches off the ground, hold your arm out, and that's what you use. Click your spool, engage your spool in, and then you just use that. And all you do is drop your bait down. And this is for close cover that's really close to you. When you want to get real precise and real stealthy and drop it in nice and quiet, it's a perfect little setup. And all you do is pull your line back and pull your bait out of the water. Alright, now for pitching, I like my reel loose. As you can see, it moves back and forth. If I push on my button, my bait's going to fall fast. And the reason for that is I like control of my bait while I'm flipping, because once I hit that spot I want it, I can stop it and let it fall down in there. Now, what I'll do with my brake is I'll set it to about halfway. So this brake goes up to 10. I got it at about 3 right now. I'll set it at about 5, and then I'll make a few pitches. And if I like how smooth it goes, then I won't mess with the brake. I'll leave it there. If it's kind of fighting me and not wanting to go, then I'll back my brake off some and bring it down to a 4. And then I'll make another pitch and check it out. And if it's still fighting, then I'll bring it back down. And just until it flies off your spool freely, but doesn't make you want to backlash. Now, with this kind of setup, every time you hit the water, you're going to want to stop your spool with your thumb. Otherwise, you will backlash. Now, that being said, like I said, it's really easy. A lot of guys if you practice enough, I mean, you can flip with your left hand, so you don't ever have to switch hands. But see, I kind of backlash there. I'm not that good at it. I can do it. If I were doing it all day, I mean, I could do it, but I don't. I'm more comfortable and confident pitching with my right hand. Now when you pitch, it's just a roll of your wrist. Keep your rod tip as low as you can, and that'll keep you from your bait flying up, going over branches, getting caught on everything. Always make sure your bait is skin hooked before you throw it back out. Make sure that thing is dug in there, because if you're throwing it into a tree, you're going to get hung up, and it gets really annoying having to retie, because you're busting it off, or getting caught, or just spooking the fish that are in the area. So you want to keep it low. Keep it low. I usually, as much line as I pull out, is I want it kind of tight here. I want this kind of tight. I don't want it lying way back here to where I got my hand too high up. I don't want my line too low. I like to have my line right here, right in front of me, pretty much, just below the eye of my hook, the eye of the rod. And then you can just, it's a real smooth, and I'm pitching it about, I don't know, maybe that's about 30 feet out. And that's all it is. It's really smooth. You know, you get your line to about there, to where you don't have your rod. You want everything pretty compact, so that all you're doing is flipping it out. Real easy. Look at the spool of my line. That's how loose it is. Now, another reason I like a loose spool is because as soon as it hits where I want it to be able, I want line to be able to come off my spool, so that I don't have any tension, and your bait's not pendulum back to you. It's not swinging back towards you. It's dropping straight down into cover. And I'll show you in another video right now. I'm going to have a camera in the water. Hopefully it gets some good footage. But so you could see what I'm talking about. Your bait falling straight down, opposed to it pendulum back if your line is too tight. So here's sort of a bird's eye view of what I'm talking about. So you got your spool. You're using your thumb to control it.
You want to bring your bait close. You want everything tight. I like to bring my reel pretty low. It's kind of hard to do it with the camera in front of me. And that's all. And then you got that nice slack in your line, and you just let your bait fall straight down. And then you can put a couple of tugs in it. I don't usually leave it in one spot too long. I usually drop it down in there because you're looking for that reaction bite. You're looking to knock them right on the head. Drop it straight down into the bush. Let your bait go. It'll fall down. Give it a few tugs. Pop it back over. And that's the reason you want to keep your bait skin hooked, because if not, it'll get caught in everything. And you want it. Now, when you're throwing into this thick stuff like this, I mean, you might want to throw a little bit of a heavier weight. I have a really light weight only because I'm throwing it between branches. Now, if I was flipping this leafy stuff all day, then I would throw a heavier weight just so it pulls down, because this lighter quarter-ounce weight will fall really slow. Sometimes that's a good thing, but sometimes they want it a fast drop. They don't want to get too good of a look at your bait, and it just helps it get through that cover a lot better. All right, guys. There's a nice one. Check that out right there down at the bottom there.